Well, y'all know my old friend Lem Parsons is always involved in some type of calamity or catastrophe. Well, this ain't no different right here, what I'm about to tell you. See, one summer when we was kids, Miss Carter lived down the street from Lem, about 2 or 3 houses down. She's a widow lady. She had about 25 or 30 cats. Now, I don't know how much it cost to feed 25 or 30 cats, but I imagine it was pretty taxing on her finances. Well, she stopped by the house one day. She seen Lem out there cleaning a fish he'd caught. She said, "Lem Parsons, do you like to fish?" He said, "Yes, ma'am, I sure do." She said, "If I give you $5, will you go out to the river and catch me some fish? Catch me a wash tub load of fish, if you would." He said, "Well, yes, ma'am, what do you need that many fish for?" She said, "I gotta feed these cats." He said, "All right, I'll do it." So Lem went and got him a wash tub, and he had a little wagon he liked to pull behind his bicycle, ride around town, collect junk and stuff. So he loaded that wash tub up in his fishing pole and headed out to the river outside of town, a couple miles out there. It's called Cocoa River. Now, the reason they called it the Cocoa River is because when it rained, all the silt from the fields would wash in and turn it like hot chocolate or chocolate milk or something. Well, it didn't take old Lem long. He got him a whole wash tub load of carp, grinnell, gars, a couple of drum, and even a big old snapping turtle weighed about 5 pounds. He threw that wash tub in the back of that little wagon, threw that snapping turtle in the wagon with it, put his fishing pole in there, and if he just headed straight home, everything would have been all right. But he got about halfway back to town, and there's a little girl lived out there. Her name was Verylene Stubbs. Now, Verylene Stubbs was our age. There wasn't a boy in our class that she hadn't whooped, and there wasn't too many girls she hadn't whooped too. For some reason, Verylene Stubbs was sweet on Lem Parsons. And I reckon Lem was a little sweet on her too. As Lem come riding his bicycle by, old Verylene picked up a big old dirt clod and winged it at him out there. Verylene may not have been a lot of things, but one thing she was good at was throwing dirt clods, and she hit Lem right in the side of the head. The second thing that Verylene was good at was running. She was the county champion when they had the grade school track meet, got all the grade school kids together. The only reason she didn't get to keep all 7 of the blue ribbons she won is because she got caught chewing tobacco as she crossed the finish line in the last race. So anyway, she hit Lem with that dirt clod, and then she took off running down the road. I reckon she knew Lem was going to chase her. Well, Lem tried to keep up with her on that bicycle pulling that wagon load of fish, but it was just too heavy, so he had to stop. He stopped, unhooked that little wagon, and then he went on after her. Well, by the time he caught up with her, she was standing in front of the Dairy Bucket. Dairy Bucket was a little restaurant there in town that sold ice cream and hamburgers and that kind of thing. He said, "Verylene, I'm going to kill you for hitting me with that dirt clod." She said, "If you're going to kill me, why don't you feed me some lunch first?" Lem said, "Well, I got a $5 bill in my pocket. I'll just do that." So they went in the restaurant there, got them some cheeseburgers and french fries, milkshakes, a couple of Coca-Colas. 2 or 3 hours later, they's finally done making goo-goo eyes at each other and done eating. Lem had kind of lost his desire to fight. He knew he probably wasn't going to win anyhow. So he put Verylene on the back end of his bicycle and rode her back to the house. Now, when they got there, he suddenly remembered that wagon load of fish he's supposed to be delivering. There's 3 old cur dogs up in the wagon eating on them fish. Well, they run the dogs off, but the dogs took about half the fish with them. Well, Lem didn't know what he was going to do because he was running out of daylight and didn't have no more bait. He knew he wasn't going to be able to catch enough fish to fill that wagon back up. But he remembered he'd seen 4 or 5 dead possums and coons on the road the way to town when he's chasing Verylene, so he went ahead and hooked up his wagon, said his goodbyes to her, and he took off riding back to town. Every time he'd come by one of them possums or coons, he'd pick it up, skin it with his pocket knife, and throw it in the wash tub. He figured if them cats needed something to eat, a coon or a possum would work as good as a carp. But when he got back to town, Miss Carter wasn't at home, so he just pulled the bicycle and the wagon and everything up underneath her carport and left it there. He figured he'd come back and get it later. Well, about an hour or so later, Lem was out on the front porch. Here come an ambulance screaming by. Pulled right into Miss Carter's house. Well, Lem jumped off the porch and went running down there to see what is going on. There's a whole bunch of people standing around. Said, Miss Carter's dead. Well, when they got there and checked on her, she wasn't dead, but she's knocked out pretty good. Well, when the whole story finally shook out, turns out when she pulled in the driveway, she seen them skint possums and coons laying up in top of that wash tub. She thought it was some of her cats. She saw that big old snapping turtle laying there, and she figured he'd got a hold of them cats and eat them. Well, she got all worked up, went to run in the house, tripped and fell, hit her head, knocked herself out. When they finally got Miss Carter all patched up, the ambulance left. Lem went up to apologize to her. He said, Miss Carter, I'm awful sorry for the trouble I caused. She said, oh, Lem Parsons, don't you be sorry at all. You did a good thing for me today. My cats will be very happy to have all that meat to eat. She said, in fact, why don't you do that every week for me? You go out and catch me a wash tub load of fish, any roadkill you can find, I'll give you $5 for it. Well, old Lem ended up making a lot of money off of Miss Carter that summer. Of course, then he turned around and spent every penny of it on Verlaine Stubbs.